Okay. We're going to call this meeting to order. The Community Development Committee of New Haven Board of Aldermen will meet Wednesday, December 16th at 16 via conference. Please click this URL to join https://bit/y2/y on AA for requirement password contact public testimony newhaven.gov or to join by audio dial 646-558-8656 webinar ID 965343727602 and enter audio only. Passcode 4707649570. Resolution of the New Haven Board of Aldermen authorizing the city to apply for and accept a grant from the Connecticut Department of Economics and Community Development not to exceed $500,000 to support cleanup of a partial of 198 River Street in the River Street Development Project Plan MDP area. Order of authorizing the mayor to sign a project authorizing letter, POW, and any subsequent amendments for the I-95 over the West River project, which includes authorizing improvement to the interchange 44 Kimberly Avenue and 45 Route 10 Ala Grasso Boulevard, which the State Department of Transportation. These items are on file and available in the city office of City Clerk, 200 Orange Street, room 202, New Haven. Per ordered, Honorable Brian Wingate, Chair, Honorable Michael B. Smart, City Clerk. For a disability-related accommodations, please call 203-946-7833 or 203-946-8582. TTY, prior to the meeting. If you wish to present testimony at the meeting, you must register in advance. https://bit.ly/TLYO on AA or by call 946-7934 before 2 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Public comments, testimony must be also submitted via email to publictestimonynewhaven.gov before 2 p.m. before the meeting. Thank you. I will now ask the committee to introduce themselves, starting from by the raise of hands. Please just go.
Alder Sal DeCola, Ward 18.
Alder Jill Marks, Ward 28.
Alder Carmen Rodriguez, Ward 6.
Alder Ellen Kupo, Ward 8.
Alder Kim Edwards, Ward 19.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out tonight. We have 2 items before us. And these 2 items, I believe the city is going to be speaking to these items. And I will ask that the presenters who's going to be presenting for this, these 2 items to come speak to them now. And please state your name, address for the record.
River Street.
I believe Helen's trying to get her audio to work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was having some technical problems earlier.
So while we wait for Helen, is Giovanni here to speak to one of the items?
I am. I'm here to speak on to the second item, Honorable Chair, if that's acceptable to you.
Mickey, is that okay if we can just reverse the order?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So while we wait for Helen to get her stuff together, what we're going to do is go to the second item, and I believe that is the Boulevard Route 44 interchangeable.
Yes, good evening, Alders. My name is Giovanni Zinn. I'm the city engineer. I reside at 95 Soundview Terrace. The item before you is related to the Connecticut Department of Transportation's construction of the new bridge for I-95 over the West River. It is what's called a maintenance project authorization letter. For reasons that are somewhat unclear to me, the project authorization letter, which is really meant to, be the instrument of a grant to the city, is now DOT's favorite way of giving us maintenance responsibilities on local roads after their projects. So it's a bit of a weird mechanism. However, basically what this is trying to tell us, and I'll walk you through if I can share my screen, the local roads that they improved during the I-95 over to West River project would now revert to us, the maintenance responsibility, along with sidewalks and other traditionally municipal responsibilities on state roads within the project limits. So if I can, I think I got promoted here. So let me share my screen. All right, so this is, can you guys all see this? Everyone see this? Someone nod? There we go. All right. So this is the area that we're discussing here in Honorable Alder Rodriguez's ward. You're probably familiar with the roundabout at C Street. So the limits of the project are right here at Greenwich Avenue. So we're accepting responsibility for the road, the sidewalks, the roundabout, the lighting, the drainage, all the way to the intersection of C with the boulevard. So we're basically taking over all of the maintenance responsibility for this, along with the Harborside Trail that was constructed here. In addition, we're going to be responsible for the Harborside Trail all the way to the West Haven line, or the start of the bridge, which is a state maintained bridge over that then leads into West Haven. We're also responsible for the new sidewalks along the State Route 122, Kimberly Avenue. So that's this sidewalk till about, I think, somewhere under these trees. And on the other side, this sidewalk here. Also, we're responsible for the sidewalk up through here. I think it ends actually up here, the new sidewalk. And that is it. And then there's some drainage, again, associated with C Street that we're responsible for. All of this is constructed already. Quite frankly, I'm sure we're plowing the local road tomorrow. Anyways, because it was our street and it just sort of is continuing to be our street. This is something that the department definitely wants us to sign. And it's a pretty typical thing for us to sign here at the end. I don't think any of the things that they include is unreasonable. We actually sort of went back and forth with them for 2 years on this, ironing out some of the details on the drainage in particular to make sure that, in fact, some of the drainage lines they're trying to give us were, in fact, ours. They did find a document from the 1960s when this was first constructed. I think it was either late 50s, early 60s, something like that. Indeed, the drainage was ours, so that finally settled that. But it is something we spent a fair amount of time scrutinizing, and at this point, is my recommendation as a city engineer that we look favorably on this request to DOT. The downside of not being part of, doing a request, accepting this back, is that they'll probably just never improve any of our roads again in the future. As part of these larger interstate projects. So with that, if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
So if I can get the full screen back,
Sure. There we go.
Okay. So from the committee, if there's any questions from the committee, I will ask you raise your hand. Alder Rodriguez.
Thank you, Chair. So, Director Zinn, you're saying now you will be taking care of all the maintenance as far as the sidewalks, the cutting of the grass across the street from the DOT building, correct? Over here by C Street?
Yes, that is
Okay.
municipal responsibility. Now, of course, municipal ordinance does shift some of those responsibilities onto the adjacent property owners.
Okay,
So-
yes, because we now have a new build over at the condos. Obviously, you're aware of
Mhm.
that. And so if we can ensure that we get the names of those property managers so that they follow their protocol in cleaning up that area, because sometimes they do let that overgrow. I know that they're building now, but that way it does not fall on city and taxpayers when they're responsible at that condo complexes. Now we're having 3. And then my other question to you was, as they are giving us, yes, they built the roundabout, will that now be the responsibility of the city for the maintenance of the plants in the roundabout?
Correct.
Okay, and if that's the case, eventually when it is handed over to you, putting signs there that no contractors or no residents that are visiting in the condo place, putting a, an eloquent sign that says no parking on the roundabout or you will be towed, because we are having those issues. I have reached out to the developers there.
You're having
So
people park on the roundabout? Wow.
they were, but I stopped. I stopped and I called, yes, I stopped and called the building
Wow.
department, and, the building department came out and talked to the folks. So those are things that are concerning that I've heard from the residents over here. And I know that you've kept up on the lights. Like you said, there's a lot of responsibility you've already had. Prior to this coming to this meeting. So I just wanted to be clear on the specs of the lights now will be yours once they need to be repaired, the city's, excuse me, ours, once it moves over to the city departments.
Yes. I mean, quite frankly, we've probably already been maintaining because getting the
Oh,
DOT
okay.
out there would have been pretty difficult. So
You have been in previous and couple years, since a couple years back. So thank you so much for that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I will go to Alder Edwards at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a quick question. Do we know about how long this construction or this upgrading will take and the impact it may possibly have on traffic and stuff in that area?
it's all done.
Okay,
So it's all what already happened. So you saw those couple years of construction that they had, that was it.
mhm.
Now it's just the final, closeout paperwork, if you will.
Okay, because it was pretty. I just have to say this. I went to Alder Rodriguez's house and the roundabout is beautiful and all that good stuff. So now we are really just accepting our part and we're going to be the upkeepers and of all things.
For better or worse, I hate it that we have to, add more maintenance, but I do think at the end of the day, it is the quote unquote right thing. So,
Okay. All right. Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Is there any more questions on item number 2 on the I-95 corridor? Interchangeable. Okay.
Mr. Chair, if my other colleagues don't, I have 2 more questions, if you don't mind.
The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. So the other question I had for you, we are having, if this is going to be handed over to you, what is the concern? Because we have folks that are crossing the street and standing on the exits of the highway. Exit 41 is a very busy intersection. And so again, protecting the city, we have those corners there, and we do have a lot of solicitation there. And is there a way that there could be signs put there that protect us as city, as the city, that we have 4 corners where people stand and again, are asking for assistance as far as monies as folks are coming off of the highway or going onto the highway. What can we do about that just to make sure that it doesn't fall on the responsibility of the cities once this is turned over? And then my other comment was, you said about the trail. That trail is still going to be a public walkway for everyone, not just the condo associations on these 3 condos, because we all have use of that, correct? That is not changing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's put in the public right away. So as far as, so I think the 2 corners actually at the exit. So if you're coming north on 95 and you kind of come down right opposite C Street, those 2 corners actually remain DOT because they are on the boulevard, which is a state road. So we would only have the corners at C Street, you know, sort of the C Street side. Obviously, it's legal for someone to stand on the sidewalk or at the crosswalk. If they enter the roadway illegally, that becomes a police matter. I don't, you know, as far as signage, I really would have to defer to traffic and parking as far as what is legal signage. I don't believe the, you know, there's a street sign of no soliciting or something like that. I mean, we'd have to look at exactly what we could or couldn't do there. But yes, the management of the physical infrastructure of the boulevard, you know, other than the sidewalks and trees, does remain the state of Connecticut.
Just to be clear, I was more worried about safety of folks crossing over when they're getting on their bikes and they are off the exit. I don't want to see anyone get hit. I understand, you know, if they want to stand there, they have the right to. I'm more worried about someone getting run over.
So if I could jump in at Alder Rodriguez, were you done with the reference?
Yes, sir. I'm done. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I have a suggestion later on about that particular intersection. Maybe we can do a public safety something around that.
Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. Is there any more questions in reference to the I-95? All right. Seeing none, thank you. Giovanni's in, and have a wonderful holiday.
Thank you. Same to all of you. I have to run to City Plan Commission right now. So thank you all very much. Have a wonderful, stay safe in the snow.
I appreciate you so much.
All right. Thank you.
I don't know if Helen is ready.
Can you hear me?
Please state your name and address for the record, please. We will be moving back to the agenda at hand. It's number 1.
Yes. Helen Rosenberg, City of New Haven, Office of Economic Development Officer. I live at 212 West Elm Street in New Haven.
Proceed.
And, okay, I'll just pretend I'm sitting. Okay, so this is a request to approve an application to be submitted to the Department of Economic and Community Development for a $500,000 grant to help with the cleanup of land at 198 River Street, the Bigelow site. This would be for a portion of that site. It's a portion behind building number 2 under a lease with Capasso Restoration. The city, as it gets money to clean up behind each of the buildings, would then arrange with Capasso to renovate that building. And after the building's renovated and that piece is cleaned up, Capasso would buy that piece. So we started down that road in 2017. We got money to clean up the property behind the corner building, which is now called 190 River Street. And we did the cleanup, and Capasso has almost completed the renovation. But what happened after that is the money that was coming every 6 months basically dried up because of the budget problems, and Lamont got elected, and he didn't immediately restore the money. So now 3 years later, the money is hopefully going to be available. The Bond Commission is meeting tomorrow or Friday, and it's on their agenda. So hopefully, well, I guess the snow doesn't affect it. So hopefully it'll be approved, and then we could submit the application. And let's see, this property is, so let's go backwards. We bought the property in 2006. And we did do at that time some stabilization on the buildings. We got funds from DECD to do environmental assessment, a complete assessment in 2016. So we know what is there, what needs to be done, and how much it costs to do the whole site, which be about $3 million, and how much it costs to do behind each of the buildings. And this particular property, we have an estimate of $425,000 from a couple of years ago, so rounded it up to $500,000 to do that building, behind that building. Okay, we got it covered. Okay, question.
So yes, so I know this is in Alders Cooper's ward, so I want to have her go first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, Helen. Thank you for being with us this evening.
Hello.
I just have a couple of questions. First, I wanted to know what is the deadline for accepting the funds? And so actually, let me reverse the question. What is the deadline for submitting the application, and what is the deadline for, for accepting the funds?
They haven't told us yet. They seem to give you, I think, 2 or 3 months to file the application. But we haven't gotten dates yet because they were waiting for the bond commission to approve the money. And they thought that was going to happen like several months ago. And then they kept canceling meetings, but now it's scheduled. So to be safe, I'd say 60 days. But it could be 90 days. I can check that.
That'd be great. If you wouldn't mind sending that to the committee once you know, I appreciate that. Then I just wondered how much money to date has been spent on environmental cleanup for this site specifically? We're talking about behind building 2, as I understand.
Well, it's behind building 2, and then behind that, when we cleaned up 34 Lloyd Street, we included some of 198 River Street in that cleanup as well, because what was 34 Lloyd Street on the other side was like $1 million to clean up 16,000 square feet. So it was cheaper on the other side. So that was so approximately $1.2 million to clean up that area between the building at 34 Lloyd and the building on the corner. And it's mostly PCBs from the scrapyard.
Would you be able to submit those figures to the committee as well, please?
Yeah, I'll get a more exact number.
I appreciate that. And
Do you
so
want just the cleanup, or do you want the assessment number too? Because that's
I'll take both.
okay.
And then my final question for the evening. So I understand that this is an environmental cleanup this is a cleanup of the, I'm like putting my words, sorry. This is an environmental cleanup. There will also I guess my question is, I'm sorry, I'm going to blame this on the snow. My head's all over the place. These funds are being requested for environmental cleanup.
Right, subsurface soil and groundwater.
Do you believe in the future there will be a request for funds for building maintenance and restoration?
There are no plans for that now. If we were going to, apply to DECD or to maybe the State Historic Preservation Office or whatever state agency might have some money for the building, then we would come back to you to get an approval of that application. Otherwise, our other source would be our capital projects funds, which we've spent some of that on some of these costs for the buildings and the land over the last 19 years that this River Street MVP has been in place. So we've spent some federal money, about 10 million in state money, state grants of various sorts, and then another couple million in federal money over the past 19 years.
Okay. Is it possible to add
Not
on?
just on this site, the
To
whole
add on
area.
So to add on to my request from earlier, can you provide whatever reports are applicable to show the spending of that money? Federal, state, etc., city as well? That would be helpful.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that's for the whole project, not just for that one property, right?
Yes, that would be helpful.
For the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
There. Okay.
Alder Cooper, are you all set? All right. Any more questions from the committee? Okay. Alder Carmen Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to find out, we used to have a truck that we worked out of in a clinic over there, and we used to use River Street. Is there ever a plan for this, the whole River Street, to be revitalized? I mean, there are a lot of beautiful old buildings, and I know that Alder Cupo and I have talked about these buildings in the past, and it's a beautiful area where the baseball field is, where the school is right across the street. Is there ever a plan to not, I don't want to say put a Band-Aid on it, but to revitalize these beautiful buildings? There used to be, like I said, we used to house a truck there, number one. And number two, there used to be a granite place in that area. And so that area is fallen to the racing and to a lot of illicit activities. So is there, as Alder Cupo asked for all these numbers, is there a way that you can come back to us and have a vision on how that part of the area, which is a beautiful part of the city, be revitalized and beautified for usage, even if it's affordable housing?
Yeah, well, it's 19 years, so it's been, there's a story, low battery. There's a story that I don't want to spend too long in telling. Ultimately, it's been kind of, as we get funds, we did acquisitions, site acquisitions, and environmental assessment and cleanup and public improvements. So it's been incremental because we didn't get like $50 million and one developer. We've had some businesses move out, like Hardy Press moved out recently. We've had other businesses move in, and Von Roll moved out, but then Art to Frames moved in over at 166 Chapel Street. New Haven Awning moved in 2009. Chapel and Corner Chapel in Blatchley. New Haven, Fairhaven Furniture expanded. So there's been that. Patriot Marine moved into 90 River Street, where the St. Raphael's truck used to be, the van used to be. They have a new boat builder moving in. So it's been very incremental. Some things improve, like what I mentioned, and then other things decline, like the Bigelow buildings. Like, we did try and stabilize them, but because of the high level of contamination at that site, it's been hard to get a developer to come in and take on those buildings. Plus, they're in the flood zone, so you can't use the first floors for anything but something that can get wet, and there aren't many things that can get wet. Other historic buildings are the old Lynn Ladder Company building, and we've tried to work with that property owner who says he has plans. I mean, he's using the building. So I think maybe we need to, he had tenants. The tenants, one of them was Lucky Structures that makes the playgrounds, and they bought their own building at 300 East Street. So see what he wants to do with that building, because that's most of the rest of the historic buildings that remain are there. There are some very interested prospective developers One looks like it's close to doing something that will involve renovation and new construction on a very large scale. But I hate to say what it is because, you know, you make announcements about things and then they don't happen. But we'll
Yeah,
know
right.
in the next few weeks if that.
Okay.
I mean, other Cupo is aware of it, so maybe others are too.
Yeah.
So it's not like we haven't had a plan. I mean, the plan is 19 years old, but the plan is dependent on, you know, we're kind of like, well, here's this property, we bought it. We know what cleanup's required, and then it's a question of who's going to come along and, you know, develop it and make the, you know, create the jobs. And so not for lack of trying.
So hopefully they will vote on this particular item tomorrow, and we can get this grant and start doing a cleanup. I want to just acknowledge our Madam President is in the room, Alder Walker Myers. Alder Rodriguez, do you have any more questions? Okay. I think I'm reading lips properly. I think she said no. See that? I think she said no. So are there any more questions from the committee? Okay. I'm gonna ask anyway, even though I don't see nobody from the public, but at this point in time, I'm gonna open it up to the public. Going once? No? Going twice? Going three times. The public portion has been closed.
I move to close the public section.
All in favor?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Extension. Okay, the ayes have it. At this
I move
point,
item 1.
so item 1.
Second, somebody, please.
Second,
Second.
discussion.
Mr. Chair, I think this is something we need to do and at least try to preserve this building and clean up the area. So I think this is a good step in the right direction.
Alder Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm encouraged to hear that this is, that the funds would be going toward the environmental cleanup. I'm prepared to vote in favor of moving this forward, but I do want to reiterate to this group that I'd like to see the documentation and the information about funds that have been used and for how long. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No, you're welcome. I think as we move forward with this, we do have time to get those things that you're looking for. And we will be sitting by waiting for those numbers and the things that we just asked for, things that you just asked for through Mickey. So you can have time to look at those things, and hopefully those things will satisfy what we're looking for as we move forward. Any more discussion on this item? Okay. I will like. Go ahead, Mickey. Okay. I say we move this item.
I'm ready to vote if you are.
Okay. So on item 1, on the grant of the cleanup, I vote yes.
I vote yes.
Yes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
So we will go to item, the ayes have it. We will move to the next item.
I move item 2.
Second,
Second.
discussion.
I think this is a final improvement to that area. I've driven through it. It's very easy to navigate. And this is now the state's way of passing things to us. Well, it's fixed. Now we just have to maintain it. So I'm in favor for the receiving the title to this plan now.
I totally agree. You know, I think it's a great project, and you know, I think we should find it favorable. Is there any more discussion on this item? Seeing no more discussion, I think we should vote on moving the item forward. I vote yes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
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 Thank you. And before we adjourn this meeting, I just want to say happy holidays to everyone. Be safe. If you have the hot chocolate, get it out tomorrow. It's going to be a good time to enjoy that, right? You know, whatever you put in your hot chocolate is what you put in your hot chocolate. Okay. Enjoy. And if I don't see you before the season turns bright, happy holidays. And I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. God bless.
Good night,
Happy
all.
holidays,
night.
everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye. I miss y'all, by the way.
You miss you guys too.
You, especially you, the one over here to the. Good night, Mickey.
Good night and happy holidays to everybody.
Just like old town, Mickey. Happy holidays.
Now we'll start working on the Dick's